So I'm Audrey. I'm 29. I'm going to turn 30 this year. Um, and I'm from Mauritius. I've been living in the UK for the past 5 years, I think. I studied photography here in Manchester at the Manchester School of Art. Um, and yeah, so in our last year, we well, in the School of Art, there's a degree show that happens usually, and where we have to produce kind of an extensive body of work about a theme. And I think since it was in the back of my head for a while, wanting to find out more about Chagosian history and Chagosian culture, and just about my own history and my own culture, I guess, because my grandma is Chagosian. So it was in my head, I think, since first year to do something around that theme, and I thought that project being that big for third year, for like a third year project, it's called a final major project, something like that. Um, yeah, it just made sense, and then I started getting in touch with people. Weirdly, I just started adding a lot of strangers on Facebook and sending them really long messages, and just trying to find groups with Chagosians on Facebook, and got in touch with different people with the Chagos refugee group. I think I got in touch with you guys too, um, and found out about different events that were going on, and eventually I was invited to one, and yeah, just met a lot of amazing people, and did a lot of reading, a lot of research, and I wanted to explore that visually, and I guess I wanted to explore my own identity to what it meant being of such mixed backgrounds, and trying to find out more about it, and about what music my ancestors listened to or did.
You discussed doing something with the Chagos refugee group.
Mm.
The Chagos refugee group that you're working with, you're collaborating with.
So at the moment, I'm raising money for the Chagos refugee group, and I've made a series of 10 prints. They're sun prints, and I found out a lot of people don't know about them, but they're really cool little things. It's photosensitive paper that you expose in the sun, and you put an object on it, and then it kind of develops it turns that page into a photograph, and it prints that object for you, but with the help of the sun. So during lockdown, I've been experimenting with a lot of my mom's recipes, and I've been using a lot of herbs and spices from home, and then it just made me think of Chagosian cooking and Mauritian cooking, and how some taste can trigger some memories, and some smells can trigger some memories, because that's what it did. That's what happened to me. So I just thought, I'm going to document all of those amazing herbs and spices that everyone seems to cook with where I'm from. It's like basic. You just put onion, garlic, and ginger in a pan, and it smells
Fine.
amazing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's great. That's amazing. Yeah, that's really good.
So yeah, and but then I had the help of a lot of people too through my social media, who I asked a few basic questions, and because I wanted to find out, is it only me, or is it a lot of other people? And a lot of my friends got back to me, and they were like, yeah, no, this triggers such a memory, and we had great conversations about their childhood memories, or how it reminded them of a specific person, like their old little neighbor that used to hand crush all of their spices,
In the big,
on the
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so that was an amazing 2 weeks of just like diving into those memories of some people around me, and I started using that as inspiration to make my prints, and then I ended up with 10 prints that I made. um, they're framed, and they're on Etsy, and they're for sale for £25, and all of the money raised will go to the Chagos refugee group, to help people in Crawley, Manchester, and in Mauritius too.
Well, your photographs are kind of, there's a lot of kind of it reflects a lot of sort of transitions between culture, between ages, between like identities. So
Yeah.
I was just wondering why that's a running theme, particularly with the stuff to do with the Chagos kind of identity and stuff for you. Is that a personal thing, or is it just something that you're interested in?
I think so. I think it's a personal thing. I'm I really like the feeling of nostalgia. And I think since I came here, it being away from home has made me closer to home in a way, especially through that project, and through that work. And I think it comes from there. I love memories. I love looking back on things, and I like stories, and I like people telling their stories. I can just sit and listen to. Yeah, I think that it that comes from there, and it also triggered this thing of, I don't know. I think, yeah, it triggered something that just made me very proud of my origins, like of my mixed origins, and being from a country which is part of the African continent, but also having South Asian origins and also Chagosian origins. It's just, yeah, it just made me really proud of that, and I wanted to explore that, and what it meant. So I think that comes from there, and the intergenerational things probably just comes from my grandma, because I love my grandma. I think she's the best. And all of her and my granddad's stories, I think there's probably lots of other grandmas and granddads that have got so many stories to tell, especially, well, from the Chagosian community too, and I like that. So I just wanted to tell that to other people, and it's kind of my story, but also the stories of different people, if that makes sense.
I was just
Yeah.
wondering, were you surprised about the amount of people who didn't know about it when you came here, or did you expect more people to know?
I think naively I expected more people to know, but nobody knew. No, nobody had heard of it, and it yeah it felt empowering to be able to tell that story, and to be able to tell people about what happened, and because it's still ongoing. There's so many issues still, and there's so much wrong still being done to that community, in my opinion. And I think I was shocked.
I was going to ask you,
Yeah.
yeah, what do you think about obviously having being a part of you? I mean, what do you think about the situation at the moment, in general, but also with the community, and the issues that they're facing in this country? Like, what are your personal feelings about it?
Well, I think it's a resilient community, and like a massive example of resilience, because they've just never stopped. And some of the really powerful and strong, feminine figures of the community that have kind of led the whole fight on their shoulders, or it yeah it's amazing to learn about them and learn about everything they've done, and the legacy that they've left. Um I don't think it's a community that will stop, and to that will stop being heard, because they have to be heard. I think the situation even now is just very unfair and very weird. I can't even understand it, because it comes down to the to to just not having somewhere you can call home, and being in this foreign country where, yeah, it's weird. It's a very weird thing.
I just wonder what you think, like the community in general in the UK right now, because obviously you're in touch with the Showbiz community and stuff, and I was just wondering what you feel like as a community they want.
Yeah, I don't think I can say that there's one thing, but I think not letting the culture just being forgotten is really important, and just keeping that through people like the younger generations, people like me, people that'll come after me, people who are younger than me, and just having that interest, because I think like that it will just keep on living in a way. And there is that interest. So when I started going to, if the very first Chagosian event I went to was in Crawley, and it was amazing. It was one of the best days ever, and I made such a good friend there, which I'm still in touch with, and she lives in Manchester, and she's very much invested too, and she lives and breathes Chagosians through with her her family, through her family and her own family's history. And she's been great. She's been helping me out and putting me in touch with all of these young people. Um, but yeah, that there is that I think want to just keep going, or learning more, because she said she, even though she kind of grew up into that culture fully, there's still so many more things that she doesn't know and she wants to find out about. And I think it's like that it will just make more people aware of what happened, and I think that's really important, that more people are aware of it,
I
if
guess
that makes
it
sense.
reminds, it kind of links in with your photography work again. It's that nostalgia thing, isn't it? Which I feel like is very Mauritian. Like, don't throw anything away.
Yeah.
Keep it with it.
Yeah.
It's like, it reminds me of that. But also, I guess with nostalgia, there's also like a preservation of
Mm,
things,
yeah,
preservation of culture, and keeping things going because
yeah, but
I've,
there's also so for example, there are probably Chagosians, really young Chagosians, who have been born and raised here, and who probably feel more British than Chagosian, um, or even Mauritian, or anything else. But I'm sure if I'm sure that will generate that interest, if yeah, if people just keep doing and just keep talking and just keep making things.
in the present sort of moment. I mean, you've got some ideas about the future, are they? And you discussed doing something with the Chagos refugee group.
Mm.
The Chagos refugee group that you're working with, you're collaborating with.
So at the moment, I'm raising money for the Chagos refugee group, and I've made a series of 10 prints. They're sun prints, I found out a lot of people don't know about them, but they're really cool little things. It's photosensitive paper that you expose in the sun, and you put an object on it, and then it kind of develops it turns that page into a photograph, and it prints that object for you, but with the help of the sun. So during lockdown, I've been experimenting with a lot of my mom's recipes, and I've been using a lot of herbs and spices from home, and then it just made me think of Chagosian cooking and Mauritian cooking, and how some taste can trigger some memories and some smells can trigger some memories, because that's what it did. That's what happened to me. So I just thought, I'm going to document all of those amazing herbs and spices that everyone seems to cook with. Where I'm from, it's like basic. You just put onion, garlic, and ginger in a pan, and it smells
Fine.
amazing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's great. That's amazing. Yeah, that's really good.
So yeah, and but then I had the help of a lot of people too, through my social media, who I asked a few basic questions, and because I wanted to find out, is it only me, or is it a lot of other people? And a lot of my friends got back to me, and they were like, yeah, no, this triggers such a memory, and we had great conversations about their childhood memories, or how it reminded them of a specific person, like their old little neighbor that used to hand crush all of their spices,
In the big,
on the,
yeah.
yeah. And I started using that as inspiration to make my prints, and then I ended up with 10 prints that I made. They're framed, and they're on Etsy and they're for sale for £25, and all of the money raised will go to the Chagos refugee group to help people in Crawley, Manchester, and in Mauritius too. Um, yes, that's I'm doing that at the moment. Some of my images from my series, my photo series is called Matter Out of Place, and that can be found on my website. And it was exhibited in Mauritius, but it was also in Manchester, and it's been in France and also in China, but not the whole thing. The whole thing was exhibited in Mauritius only. So when I started the project, it was divided into where one part of it would be to document Chagosian objects or objects related to food, to music, anything to do with the culture. And then the other part of the project would be to meet with the Chagosians themselves and ask them about their story or what they would like to say, and maybe have portraits of them or of their 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 space now, where they live now, and how that's different from where they were before or from where their ancestors used to live. So that's the part of the project that I mean, it started this year actually. I did meet with 3 amazing women from the Chagosian community, and I recorded them, did some portraits, and talked a lot. So that's kind of like ongoing.
If anyone wants to visit your site and see all your projects, where can they contact you? How do they find you?
So my website is audreyalbert.com. My Instagram is where I post most of, well, everything I make. Um, it's not got selfies. It's just got all of my photos. And that's Athena and Athena is spelled Athaena. And through that Instagram page, you can also follow my social and creative project, which is called Chagosians of Manchester. That's also on Instagram. It's just, yeah, you just have to type Chagosians of Manchester and you'll find it. Yeah, and then that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Audrey, for talking to us. And
Thanks to you.
and well, your project is amazing. Your pictures are beautiful. I've seen them.
Oh, thank you so much.
I think what you're doing is really great, and just showing people a culture that isn't really talked about, or cultures which aren't really talked about that much in this country. So a lot of people don't even know who Mauritians are. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for chatting to us, and
Thanks to you.
To all your future projects. Thank you.
Thank you. It was so nice to meet you.